Hi there. Today we're going to continue our 3 episode series on the maps, on the geography of the famous Pu'er tea mountains in southern Yunnan. So the first video was about Xishuangbanna, which you can see on the tiny map is in the south. And today we're talking about Pu'er County, also called Simao. So you can see that Xishuangbanna is down there. Then you have Simao, which is a much bigger county than Xishuangbanna. It's about twice the size. It is bordered by Myanmar on the west. You also have a border with Laos and maybe a bit with Vietnam. Vietnam is actually just there. I'm not sure whether there's a border or not there. And it's bordering Hong He County and Yuxi there. So it's really, you can say it's the center south of Yunnan, and it's, I think, the largest county in Yunnan. So right now I am in Pu'er city, and Pu'er city is, well, it should be here. It's at the intersection between this big highway that goes to Kunming and this road that goes west to east. So I am here now. And well, let's start south. So let's take the most usual road I take. It's the road to Lancang. Okay, you drive for about 4 hours from Pu'er and you're in Lancang. And then from Lancang, I would say you have 3 destinations, even 4. Okay, so the most common we take is going to Jingmai. So we go south, we go to Huimin, which is a small town, and then we climb up a mountain, cross one valley, and then we arrive in Jingmai Shan. And you can see here that they also separate Mangjing. So yeah, that's pretty accurate. Like you can say, there are 2 main terroirs: Jingmai, which is populated by the Dai mainly, and Mangjing, which is mainly populated by the Wuliang. And there are tiny variations. Of course, I've probably talked a lot about these 2 terroirs in my past videos. Maybe a bit less about Mangjing. It reminds me I should maybe give a bit more explanations about Mangjing. So Jingmai and Mangjing both have a lot of tea garden. It's probably the most famous area, the most famous tea mountain in Simao in Pu'er County, and also probably one of the highest in terms of production, in terms of output. And then if you go there, then that's the road to Monghai. So you're not far actually from Monghai, and that's why even some people include Jingmai in Monghai area. Okay, let's go back to Lancang. Then if you're in Lancang, you can also go west and you go to Monglian. Monglian is a really beautiful kind of border town. There's a river crossing it. There are lots of older Dai temples. It's a very pleasant city, very small rural city, and I love the vibe there. Now I can see that, yeah, I think the most famous area would be Mongma. But this year we went to another place. We went to Lafu, so which is a bit more south than Mongma. And this is where our Lafu tea comes from. You can see it's right at the border with Myanmar. Monglian has tea, but it's not very famous. Actually, yeah, I would say those 2, like Mongma and what Nachong, they are not super famous areas. Probably they included them because they have a high amount of tea. So it's interesting because on those maps I found out that some areas don't have actually ancient tea gardens, and yet they are marked. But okay. So in Monglian, you find a lot of tea, but not a lot of it is of high quality. But you can find some if you explore really deep in the countryside. It's a bit like everywhere. You can find some good gems, hidden gems. Okay, so we're in Monglian. We can go back to Lancang, and we're gonna take sorry, we're in Monglian. We're gonna take a small road actually that winds through the hills there, and we can go to Shimong. And Shimong is interesting because I think it's the only place which is entirely Wa minority. So the Wa minority, we have a small village, a small Wa village in Jingmai, and they have specific customs and they seem to be quite a different people. Well, it's interesting. It's a very remote area there. It's most of that area is forests. It's a very low population density. And there's that T mountain, which is what, Fogu or something. I'm not sure about the middle character. Honestly, I've never heard of it, but I know that there is tea in Shimong, usually known for its good price for value, and they have quite a clean natural environment there. It's quite a wild area. I've never traveled extensively in the small roads. I've only been to Shimong, but it's certainly a place I'd like to explore further. Now, if you go more in the north, so from Lansang, so you have to get back to Lansang, or you can take from Shimong, you can actually get back there. If you go north, so you're going towards Linsang, and there you have Bangwai. So Bangwai is it's also a famous tea producing area. It's especially famous because it has one very big and very old tea tree, which is like the star of the place. But it also has decent tea. Some people say it's similar to Jingmai. It is, but I think not as deep. So that's why I've never offered Bangwai tea. It's usually kind of considered as an ersatz of Jingmai because it can be mistaken for a Jingmai tea, but in my opinion doesn't really compare in terms of quality. But also it's some fair price for value there. So I think we're done with Western Pu'er. Actually, you will find also tea trees, like you will find basic tea gardens all over the place, just like in Xishuangbanna. You just go in some mountains and you will find gardens. The problem is it will be hard to find high quality tea. But you never know, you can find good deals actually by roaming through remote areas. I mean, for somewhat basic plantation tea, that will do. And if you're very lucky, you might find even older tea trees. So let's go back to Lansang and let's go back to Pu'er city. Oh, I forgot to talk about what's around Pu'er city. So you could say you also have tea mountains on at least half of the periphery of Pu'er city. Pu'er is about that big. And in the east, you have Shan. Shan is where our cheap black tea comes from. It's already sold out this year. It's a great bargain, great price for value you will find there. Of course, a lot of tea is local tea, but if you know the right producers there, you can certainly find good deals. Same goes for Nandaohe in the south. It tends to be larger operations, like even a small factory in those areas will produce maybe 10, 20 tons a year, compared to our factory, which makes about 500 kilo, or maybe, 500 to a ton in Jingmai. There, like 20 tons a year is, it's just considered a small factory. But it's because the price is cheap. It's quite a different industry. It's more mass market there. And they don't make that much Pu'er tea. They are mainly about black tea, white tea, and they even have some oolong cultivars there. But no gushu there. It's only a lot of plantation tea. So you can go there if you're looking for good price for value for mass market. Then we can go east and we can head towards Jiang Cheng. So I think it's about a 3 hours ride to Jiang Cheng. And then in Jiang Cheng, so I've never been, but I'd love to because it's at the border with Laos. So there you have that Nyot U County. And from Jiang Cheng to the place we work in Laos, which is about there, it's really not that far, maybe an hour and a half. So yeah, again, I need time to go to Jiang Cheng. And actually, last time I met a guy, like an official from Jiang Cheng, and he was telling me that there was actually pretty good tea in the hills around Jiang Cheng. And this is translated into these three mountains you can see here, which is Tianfang Sai, Tebie Zai, or Bobie Zai, and what Magosu. So yeah, I've never heard of these places actually, but yeah, he told me that there is decent gusu, and I suppose since Iwu is very close, I suppose a lot of the high quality tea of that place is sold in Iwu, if the taste is similar. But it's definitely something I'd like to offer on Farmer Leaf if I go there. Now, if you go north from Jiang Cheng, yeah, there's a place called Maiyu. I've never heard of it. Again, it's really interesting because there are so many places that I haven't heard of. But okay, so let's go back to Pu'er, and now we can go north. So the north is very convenient because you have the highway that goes to Kunming. It's that highway. Kunming is about there, I would say. So you can easily go to... So that Banshan... So you have Ningor, which is another small town about 40 minutes away from Pu'er. I only went to the west, like Dehua. You have a lot of tea there. Again, it's pretty good price for value. It's pretty decent tea. I would say most of the tea in that area has no pesticides. At least that's for the what we call the old varietal, because if you plant oolong tea, as I understand, you really have to spray pesticides, otherwise they get sick, they get attacked too much by the pest, while the old cultivar is more resilient to pest attack. So there east of Ningor, you have a place called Banshan. I've never been. But more importantly, you have Kunlu Shan. Kunlu Shan, I would say, is also one of the most famous places in Pu'er County. You could say that Kunlu Shan is the second most expensive place because they have very old tea trees, and they are very interesting because these tea trees are huge, but they have very small leaves. And from afar, they almost look like olive trees, actually. Very old olive trees. The taste is, I think good Kunlu Shan is better than Jingmai, in my opinion, because it has less astringency and still has some similar characteristics to Jingmai, and also a bit of an Iwu side. I would say, yeah, if you blended some Jingmai and Iwu together, and you remove the astringency, you kind of get some Kunlu Shan tea. But the real Gushu from Kunlu Shan might be a bit out of reach because of its rarity, and I think the harvest is supervised by the government, and they can pick it only twice a year, if I'm correct. Yeah, and so it's very hard to access this material. But in the hills around Kunlu Shan, you have a lot of plantation tea, of natural tea gardens, and that's where our mohe tea comes from. We did it last year. We haven't sourced it this year yet, but I think we will, maybe in 2 months. So mohe, I think, is over there, just a bit south of Kunlu Shan. Oh, it's here. Here it is, Mohe. And we go into the area, so it's more east of Kunlu Shan, in that place. And I think the profile of the teas in that area is quite interesting. It's very soft. Then if you go towards Mojiang, you have that place, uh, I don't know. I don't know about these tea mountains near Mojiang. I know in Mojiang they mainly make black tea and some green tea, so it's a bit outside my expertise, I would say. But let's continue on the road. So you're on the highway and you can turn left and you can go to Jinggu. So Jinggu is fairly accessible from Pu'er. It's only, 3 hours away maybe? The problem is if you go to Jinggu, you're going to be disappointed because Jinggu is not the real Jinggu of the tea drinker. When we say Jinggu as tea drinkers, we're actually talking about Xiao Jinggu. Okay, Jinggu is a fairly big rural city, a bit the same size as Lansang, that is near Jingmai. You have Jinggu there. But most of the tea you will find, the tea center is located in Xiao Jinggu, so small Jinggu, little Jinggu. And there you have it. You will have all those famous names, like such as Kuzu-san. You have Fengshan there, Lao Haitang, Dasun-shan. Okay, so let's stay here. Here we are in Jinggu area. So Jinggu, you have several valleys, like Huangcaobai is also very famous. And this is a terroir in development, really. There's quite a lot of tea there, both some cheap ones and some ancient tea gardens. And I think it's a terroir that we will see expanded in the next decade, I would say, because there's quite a lot of diversity. Last year we sourced tea from Fengshan. Oh, you have like Zhao Qiaodi is also very famous. You have dozens of names. It's a bit like kind of the Yiwu effect that's occurring in Jinggu, where people try to make the terroir more and more accurate. So it's definitely an area to explore. Now it remains some of the cheapest gushu you can find, because for a long time it's been a neglected terroir. As for taste diversity, you have both very soft and fragrant teas, and you can also find very bitter teas actually in that place. So, yeah, Jinggu is definitely interesting. Here you have, so a bit in the east of Jinggu, you have Fenghuangwo, which is the most expensive by far, the most expensive tea you will find in Simao, in Pu'er. And this is because I think for the same reason that Mansong in Xishuangbanna was the place where the imperial tribute was offered. I think it's also for historical reasons that this place is so expensive. And it's also because they have very few tea gardens. Honestly, I think they probably have less than one square kilometer of tea gardens. I've heard much less than this, actually. They might only have one proper ancient tea garden. So, yeah, this is really luxury tea, you could say. But close to it, you can see you have Midi. So Midi is more accessible. I've never been to that area, but as I understand, you have lots of tea around Fenghuangwo in that area. So Midi is also a very interesting terroir. Then let's go a bit north through this road, or you could take this road too from Jinggu. And don't be mistaken, because it looks like one area, but you have two counties. If you go north of that place, you will arrive in Zhenyuan. So Zhenyuan tea, I would say you have like so in Zhenyuan. So in Zhenyuan, probably the most famous place is Laoshan, because they tend to have they have a lot of tea. But yeah, you have these Lao Haitang, Dasun Shan. These are also pretty famous. Overall, it's also just like Jinggu. It's pretty cheap tea, but I like the tea from that area. I find it to have a great mouthfeel and somewhat, in my opinion, a bit more depth than Jinggu tea. Of course, that's talking generalities here. But I'm quite a big fan of Laoshan. If you go even more north, you have Tianjiazhai and Madang. I think they also belong to Zhenyuan. So you can see Zhenyuan is there. Tianjiazhai is also very famous. It's famous for its large forest of wild tea gardens, which is protected nowadays. But in the past, people would go far in the forest to harvest those wild trees. So the wild trees are very different. They will give you, they have kind of purple leaves, and they have a very distinct taste. I think it's not for everybody. Now what they do is they took cuttings from these wild tea trees, and they just planted regular tea gardens with them. So actually, wild tea tree in wild tea in terms of genetic, it's not very expensive. You can find for quite a cheap price. But honestly, I'm not really a big fan of these wild types. I prefer the selected varietals, the normal classic tea. And Madang is also famous, but I don't know much about it. So you could see in Zhenyuan, you have one area which is just related to Jinggu, one big patch of tea land there, and then isolated spots in the north and in the east. And then you can see we have more and more mountains there. If you go north, so you're on the road to Dali. Actually, if you look at this is Dali County. It's a very famous tourist place, but which is also beautiful. It has quite a unique ecosystem there. So if you go north, in the west you have Wuliang Shan, and in the east you have Ailao Shan, Wuliang Mountain and Ailao Mountain. And these are the biggest mountain ranges you can see. Actually, if you look at a world map, you can even see, or if you're on Google Earth, you will see really two straight lines right in the middle of Yunnan, and that is Wuliang Shan and Ailao Shan. These mountains ranges are huge because they basically go from the Himalayas all the way to Vietnam, I would say. So Ailao Shan is kind of straight, and Wuliang Shan is parallel to Ailao Shan until a point where it goes south. So it's quite an interesting shape, and it's probably the most distinctive feature that you will see in southern Yunnan. So on the southwest side, you have Wuliang Shan. So these two areas are really huge, and what's interesting is I feel like these two areas, they didn't manage to really promote their terroirs, to really build their terroirs. We still talk about Wuliang tea. So I see there are lots of names, but honestly, you see there's a Naka just like in Xishuangbanna, but honestly, if you say Naka, everybody will talk about Xishuangbanna. Nobody knows that Naka here. Huang Caolin, Jin Lai Tang. Honestly, I've barely heard of these names. Yeah, sometimes you see them on some rappers, but very rarely actually. Lao Tsang is there. Lao Tsang, I know a little bit because my friend is from there. But again, these mountains are just not known. I mean, yeah, if you say Ailao Shan, you could say Tianjiazhai somewhat belongs to Ailao Shan. But the rest, these mountains, they are not known at all. Even in Pu'er city, that's the place where it's supposed to be sold. Or even in Kunming. So I think this is due to the remoteness of the place. It doesn't look like it on the map, but the road is very hard to navigate. Like you have one main road and Jingdong in the center. Also a really beautiful town. If you're traveling in Yunnan and really want to get the rural feel, just go to Jingdong and you'll eat great food there too. But as soon as you get into those mountains, it's kind of remote and the road is pretty bad. One of the stores we have on the website is Aonama, the Aonama cake, which is not actually in Pu'er County, it's in Chuxiong County, so it should be around there. And again, these are not famous names, but the quality of that tea, you can taste for yourself to see if that Aonama is good or not. There are certainly great teas to be found in Wuliang Shan and Ailao Shan, partly thanks to the high altitude, which will give low temperatures, low growth, and also partly due to the remoteness and the fact that you will find very distinct profiles because of the remoteness. You can think that because of the remoteness, you will have different microclimates because of the topography and because of the agricultural history. Okay, so and of course, so you have a few like very isolated high quality teas in Wuliang and Ailao, but the bulk of what is produced there is cheap black tea and green tea. So it's also quite a good place to find this kind of tea. And that's it for today. That's it for the Simao presentation. As you see, I haven't been to so many places in Pu'er City, but I will certainly have to. Well, I will certainly go in the future when I'll have time. So thank you for watching and see you later. Bye bye.